Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so the Lakers are playing the Utah Jazz tonight, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern in Utah. Another early game. We got 3 early games in a row this week because we're going on a road trip. So tomorrow we play a back-to-back as well in Minnesota at 5 o'clock. And then I think we move on to like Miami and Atlanta or something like that, early games all week. So of course, that is something we have to adjust to. But, as I told you guys, with this particular game, I'm probably going to miss maybe a portion of the first quarter, probably the first half of the first quarter, with Bible study with my family over the phone. So, of course, will not miss that. Depending on how quickly we get off the phone will determine how quickly I get to the game. And given the fact the game is on the road, it'll probably start on time. So I'd imagine I'm going to miss some of the first quarter. If this was in LA, we'd count them starting at like 5:20 because they never start on time in Los Angeles. Keep that in mind, people. They never start on time in Los Angeles. You can give it 15 minutes and you'll probably still be on time. So, yeah, that's not how it is on the road. And so we'll miss a little bit of that. But, the Utah Jazz, I did a little homework on the Utah Jazz. Of course, we just saw them on the 19th, where it was the big game for our rookie, DK, scored 37 points, 9 threes made in that game for Dalton Connect. And, he really had a second breaking out. We had already seen him break out in the preseason against the Suns. But, the Utah Jazz is a team he has a lot of confidence against at this point. And we're going to need him because from what I understand, D'Lo may be unavailable for this basketball game. There's some confusion about D'Lo's status, though. I will say there's some confusion. One injury report has him as game time decision. Another one doesn't have him on the injury report at all. And then I listened to Trevor Lane, and Trevor said, he said that he's doubtful. So I'm getting 3 different things there. I don't know what's going on with D'Lo, but just know that he's on the injury report to some capacity. There's a good chance he misses tonight's game. So we'll just assume he's not there. The Utah Jazz have been, losing. They've won one of their last 6 games or something like that. 7 games. It's been pretty bad. I believe that's how that went. They played last night. They're coming off a back-to-back against the Dallas Mavericks where Kyrie went for like 30 and 9 on them. That's the kind of thing they've been dealing with. And I saw highlights on that, but to be honest with you, I was only half paying attention to the highlights for that particular game. They've played the San Antonio Spurs twice. And both of those were games that took place before we last played the Spurs, which means I saw highlights on those games when I studied for the Spurs. So I'd be damned if I watch another 20 minutes of the same thing I've already seen. So they lost both of those games rather easily. They did get a win against the New York Knicks, which was really surprising. The Knicks came into Utah and just did not ball out. And, and they also lost to the Denver Nuggets, but it was some very key stats in that Nuggets game that we need to discuss. 21 offensive rebounds for the Utah Jazz against the Nuggets. Now, they still got blown out because they were killed in the paint, killed in the fast break, but they gave themselves 21 second chance rebounds. So, we need to understand that last time we saw the Jazz, they didn't have the center position straightened out like they got it right now. Last time we saw them, they had Filipowski playing the center, Eubanks playing a little bit of center. Tonight, Filipowski's a game-time decision. He may not actually go. And now they're running 2 different guys. Of course, Walker Kessler, who's on a great stretch right now. My prediction at the end of this basketball game, people are going to be itching for us to make a trade for Kessler because he's on a real good stretch right now. Averaging 10 points, 10 rebounds, blocking shots as usual. And he had 5 blocks against the Denver Nuggets, if I'm not mistaken. He's been blocking shots like a madman, rebounding like a madman. He only missed 2 shots against the Dallas Mavericks. He's just on a roll. So we didn't get a chance to see him in the last one. He will be available tonight. And Micah Potter, I don't know who this guy is, but he's been showing up all over the waiver wire in my fantasy leagues. And I think it's because he had 16 rebounds against the Denver Nuggets in that particular matchup and 8 offensive rebounds himself, if I'm not mistaken. Him and Walker were the ones who were eating up all those offensive glass rebounds against the Denver Nuggets. So, yeah, man, that's something that we need to be aware of because, of course, we gave up 15 to the OKC Thunder in a loss for which we won't necessarily want to remember, but probably won't forget, where we just wet the bed against the Thunder in the last one. It was embarrassing. It was frustrating. We strategized against ourselves, in my opinion, and there wasn't a whole lot to really like about that game. Turnovers from LeBron over and over and over and over again. 17 turnovers as a team, for which is not like us. To be honest with you, we're much better than that on the season, but as of late, our turnover situation has been bad. As Trevor Lane pointed out, LeBron James has had 5 or more turnovers in like 9 straight basketball games, so I don't know what's going on there, but if he doesn't shore it up, it's going to be a problem going forward. So that's just unacceptable, LeBron James. But yeah, man, you got to understand the Utah Jazz. Like I said, we just saw them last week or a little more than a week ago. Smoked them. Didn't have much trouble there. Dalton Knecht went crazy. So it's not much to this basketball game other than understanding that they have a much more capable interior defensive situation here. I don't think they really want to win basketball games, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think they want to tank. They're on a forever tank mission to just hoard picks and tank them and just try to build a super team that way. And so we should be able to get right against them tonight. They turn the ball over a lot. Utah does. They're a very bad turnover team, very bad defensive team, very bad offensive team, but they do have capable players on both sides of the floor. So if they want to compete, they basically can. But this is Danny Ainge, and they're trying to be greedy through the draft. That's the God's honest truth. So I just expect this to be a Walker Kessler commercial, man. They're just going to feed him. He's going to do his thing. He's going to block shots. He's going to try to do a good job against AD. And we need to be careful, because if we're driving at the rim, doing all willy-nilly, he is definitely somebody who's going to be swatting stuff away. It just is what it is. Lauri Markkanen, his ceiling goes up to the moon, man. Y'all know he can shoot. You know he's a good rebounder for his position, 7 feet tall, small forward, power forward combination. I really liked his fit when he played for the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Utah Jazz hasn't used him the same, but they did give him a bag, so I know he's not unhappy. But, just the same, he's just kind of dragging along as a win-now player on a bad team, getting his numbers, collecting a check. That's really what it is for him. But he can always show up. He's a very good three-point shooter, very good interior scorer when he wants to be, can run. He doesn't have too many holes in his game, man, and he's been fairly durable as of late. So, yeah, Lauri Markkanen's a guy, man. He's definitely somebody we need to pay attention to at all times tonight. Colin Sexton's been playing better ball. I think he had like 26 points against the Denver Nuggets in that matchup. So, we just got to pay attention to him. He did have a awkward fall a couple days ago. I don't know which game it was. It might have been the Knicks game. I don't remember. Where he kind of slipped and almost did a split. So I'm not sure if that's going to have any hangover at all. But he's been playing through it, whatever it is, if it was anything at all. So, yeah, that's that's what it is, man. The Utah Jazz, who else they got? Bryce Sensabaugh is somebody they've been getting a lot of minutes to. He was a DNP against us on the 19th, but tonight I will imagine he will be used a lot. He's been giving them double digits off the bench pretty much for like 4 or 5 games straight. So we need to be very aware of Bryce Sensabaugh, a very big body offensive talent who was drafted last year, and he's good, man. He's really good. He can score. He's a pure scorer, and he's massive. As a small forward, a huge person that you have to deal with at that position. So, he's going to pull up from 3. He's going to get in his mid-range. He's a 3-level scorer, man. He really is. And I know if you get him on your team right now, you can count him to do exactly what he's doing for Utah or more, because the more minutes he gets, the more talent he's going to be able to display in scoring the ball. I did homework on him last year plenty. This is a real scorer in this NBA. Sitting on a bench in the middle of nowhere, nobody knows he's there. But I'm telling you, he's coming. He is coming. And if I'm a team that's looking for scoring at that small forward position, somebody that's kind of difficult to deal with at that position, I'm going to target him now before he turns into what it is I know he's going to turn into. Go get Bryce Sensabaugh right now out of Utah if you can, NBA. Trust me, you'll thank me later. So that's one of those type of situations there. He's getting showcased a little bit better. And, yeah, he can go, man. Like, really go. So that's something I want people to understand. I wouldn't be surprised if he has over 18 points tonight, because he's been itching to score more, and the more minutes they give him, the better he's going to be. They're not using Cody Williams at all. I don't know where he's at. He's not on the injured list. I think they got him in street clothes. That's just a waste of his talent. He needs to be developing, but because they're tanking, he's probably a little too good, with a little too much upside. Probably helped them win a little too much coupled with everything else they got. Isaiah Collier's barely getting like 13 minutes a game. He's too good to be in that situation, to be honest with you. He should, he could probably be a main backup point guard for a team. But like I said in one of my videos yesterday, Utah and some of these teams are just hoarding picks, and as they do so, they're bringing this good talent to them and asking them to play lesser roles or not play at all instead of developing. So it's like some of the best talent in the league is not getting showcased because they keep going to this team, and the team is just looking to tank every single year. So, Filipowski's like a first-round talent. He may get some minutes, you know what I mean? He may play, may not. But when he does play, he's really good. So this is the story with the Utah Jazz. And then they go out there to help their tank mission, with all due respect, and they play guys like Johnny Juzang 15 minutes a night when they have all this talent that they're not using that probably should be on other teams, making those teams as good as they need to be to compete. So I just think the NBA needs to do something about Danny Ainge and some of these guys, or OKC, who keep hoarding picks. It's a smart strategy, but it really does take all of the best league and dumb it into role-playing positions. So Utah is one of those teams I think that is kind of the worst at that, or the best at that, however you want to look at it. But yeah, so that's what you're looking at there. Of course, you got to look at Keyonte George. One of my best friends' name is Keyonte. I don't know why I didn't think of that right there. Keyonte George. Shout out Keyonte for sure. He is a player who turns the ball over a lot, tends to miss a lot of shots, but is really, really talented. I like him a whole lot. He's shown me some real serious upside, but he's just got to continue working through his turnover issues and his, volume inefficiency stuff. But he can really pass the rock. He's extremely talented, and as he continues to develop, he'll start shoring those things up, and I think he'll probably end up being an all-star before it's over with. I really like him a lot, but he's got to fix some things. So we'll continue to deal with him and their guard combination. Jordan Clarkson's a game-time decision. He's been out for a few games, so I don't expect we see too much of him. But then again, it's against the Lakers at home. He may want to have a big game tonight if he's playing. I don't really know if he'll go. But what else do they have? They have plenty of stuff, man. That's the thing about the Utah Jazz. They're not lacking in talent. They're just not trying to use it. I've already mentioned Devin Eubanks. He's going to be used a lot. We've seen him do some good things with Portland and Phoenix. So that's a guy that they've been using a whole lot over the last couple of games. I have no doubt he'll be on the floor some, depending on if Filipowski's able to play. John Collins. John Collins is on a fantastic stretch, man. You got to give John Collins his credit. He never really slips when he's healthy. You can count on him for a good 19.7 rebounds a game, sometimes more than that. His ceiling goes up to like 35. So that's a guy who can do some things defensively here and there, block some shots with athleticism. Very good corner three-point shooter, power forward guy that I think is just probably itching to get into a better situation. Another win-now talent on a tanking situation. So, they're not hurting in that front court. And I'll tell you the truth, they have plenty of nice players in the front court. Between Markkanen and Collins, as we already mentioned, Kessler and Potter, Filipowski. They got plenty of guys that should be able to get aboard, be tall, and just create problems. Sensabaugh, all of those people are huge. So they're not lacking in size. And the Utah Jazz that we saw last week or the week before that, they were not as big, man. So this is a much bigger team than we saw them last, and we need to take that into account as we strategize. It's not the same team, believe it or not. So that's what I know. As far as we're concerned, we've lost 4 of our last 5 games. We've been on one of the most embarrassing stretches we've been on. Luckily enough, we did have that before Thanksgiving San Antonio feast where we really played well, had 7 players in double figures. But outside of that, we've basically had an awful month of November. Thank God that month is over. But we're still just coming off a bad basketball game against OKC where I really thought we, as I said, strategized against ourselves and kind of wet the bed, man. Anthony Davis walked away with his season low, if I'm not mistaken, probably was a season low, 15 points. Did have 4 blocks and a steal and some boards, but, the offensive side of the ball is where we need him to shine, especially if we're going to have Bron struggling at the same time. So that's kind of what's been telling the story. Both of our stars ain't playing up to their level, and it's costing us victories. Not to mention that we've had players in and out of the lineup, inconsistencies all over the place in that regard. Bad news on Jackson Hayes. I was waiting for some news on his ankle. As I told you, he had re-injured it. He's going to be out for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So, it's just what it is, man. We're going to be without him. Of course, that makes us smaller, which kind of, if we're willing to play with size, we have some to use. You know, a guy like Christian Coloco is more than ready to come out there and be a rim protector for us. Not great rebounding, not great catching the rock, but he does help you in some key areas that I think you really could use, especially when it comes to getting stops in the interior. So I love rim protection, especially for this roster that has so many perimeter defensive issues. But our bench tends to play better defense than our starters based on the talent that's there. Of course, Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, who's been playing better, Cam Reddish. And so if you're using Christian Coloco in those lineups, you have one of your best defensive lineups for your team this year. So for what it's worth, I think we should not hesitate to use Christian Coloco. I actually like him better for this unit than Jackson Hayes at this point. So yeah, man, that's what I have to say there. One of the things that I think is also catering to us not being so great right now is the fact that we're having a hard time getting the ball to Anthony Davis. We've done a good job of diversifying our offense and solidifying that we're one of the best offensive starting units in the league. But in diversifying, you have the same problem you had with Darvin Ham's teams that couldn't seem to get him to score more than 19 points on a given night. That's a problem we didn't have when we were doing things a certain way in the starting lineup before moving D'Lo to the starting lineup. I think we all like the idea that D'Lo has moved to the bench, but I don't think most people are really taking into account that D'Lo is really good about getting the ball to Anthony Davis to start the game. He tends to look to facilitate much more frequently than Austin does. Even though Austin's talented in that way, Austin's more so looking to get his. And like I said in previous videos leading up into the season, I don't really like Austin at the starting lineup as a point guard. I like him more at the 2. I want somebody else running the offense. Because when he's running the offense and looking to do his own thing, what we're starting to find out is that he is an inefficient basketball shooter. He's very inefficient. A lot of possessions get swallowed up by his aggressiveness. And while you want your players to be more so aggressive than timid, his aggressiveness tends to hurt the team when he's not shooting well, because he's taking possessions away from other players who would otherwise need the ball. And it equates to what we're seeing here without really even realizing it leading up to this point. I think that's what it comes down to. Austin Reeves is looking for himself. And he's launching three-point shots from 40 feet away. He's driving at the rim, fishing for fouls. And those are possessions that are not going to Anthony Davis. And I think that's exactly what's happening here. So while we had D'Lo in the starting lineup struggling, and Austin playing the 2 at times, or maybe Cam at the 2, what you end up finding is that you have a less likely opportunity to get Anthony Davis his touches, because your point guard's more reluctant to get him the ball and look for him. I think that's what it equates to. So I don't know, man. I think also Dalton Knecht being in the starting lineup, though we love what we're seeing there, I think that's also some touches getting away from Anthony Davis. So other people are getting their looks. You got this aggressive dude down there who's jacking up everything. Rui needs to get his looks. He gets him here and there, and you look up and you've gotten a first quarter where Anthony Davis only has a few touches. And once that happens, Anthony Davis tends to fall asleep as it pertains to looking for the basketball. He just kind of goes with the flow of the game, focusing on the defensive end, and the touches never come. You look up and he has 15 points at the end of the damn game. I think how we're structuring our starting lineup, that's what we've ultimately given up. While we've fixed some other issues, now we've given up the uber production from Anthony Davis. So when we were doing things a certain way beforehand, he was getting 30, 35-point games. Now we're doing it this way, and he's getting 15, 16-point games. Consistently under 20 points. Something has to give. Something has to give. I don't know that we put D'Lo back in the starting lineup instead of Austin, because D'Lo is, although he's been playing better these last 2 games, I don't know that anybody's quite ready to do that. But I can tell you this, it's something that I think probably will make it so that Anthony Davis gets more looks. Because at the end of the day, if you got Austin down there controlling the offense, he's going to make sure he get up 15, 16 shots. Everybody else, it seems like they have to get in where they fit in. And he's going to make some passes here and there. He's going to get some assists, and they're going to be nice ones. Loud assists, but not plentiful. He ain't looking for 12 and 13 assists. He going to get like 6, 7 assists, and he's going to launch about 16 shots, 17 shots. I don't think he's a point guard, you guys. I think we can get away with it. I think you can win with it. But against certain teams where you really need to score a lot, you can't win with it because he's bricking a lot. So you walk away with 92 points against a good defensive team like OKC. It's just not. That ain't the ingredient. That ain't the ingredient. I think that might be where we need to target ourselves a facilitating point guard that can play some defense maybe. Or bite the bullet and take what comes with putting D'Lo back in the starting lineup and sit Austin and let him play the D'Lo role. But Austin's inefficiency and reluctance to get AD the ball, I think, might be what the secret to AD not being as productive may be on the offensive end specifically. I think that might be what's going on there. And with Bron throwing possessions away, instead of getting the ball to AD, he's giving the ball to the other team. That has to be equated into the inefficiency overall of our facilitators toward Anthony Davis. You're losing possessions. That's what's happening in LA. Some of the possessions that you otherwise would have Anthony Davis getting 35 and 36 points are going to the other team off of missed shots and turnovers. So when you consider what's really going on down there, that is what it is. Bron needs to shore up the damn turnovers and turn those into buckets or assists to Anthony Davis or Dalton Connect, in my opinion, or Rui Hachimura, our scorers. And Austin Reeves needs to peel back on the damn green light and start looking to be more of a facilitator so that he can help his basketball team instead of getting his every night, for which is not equating to, because he's missing every damn thing. 1 out of 9 from behind the arc at OKC, bro. We walk away with 92 points. Coach needs to have a conversation with Austin. You are not Trae Young, bro. We do not need you to do all these shooting and all that. And mind you, Trae Young's a horrible example because he's getting 20 assists and stuff like that. He's finding his guys in the midst of getting his scoring going. I don't know what Austin's doing down there. I don't peg him as a selfish player, but the stats are telling me that's exactly what we need to tell him. That you need to just get the ball to other people more. Be a facilitator. You have the gift. It's not like you can't make incredible passes. You can do that. Peel back on some of that foul fishing and three-point shooting. And you can get Anthony Davis the ball and be a reason why he's going to get MVP. But as long as you're looking to be all-star Reeves and it's turning into brick-star Reeves, you're killing us in our possession situation. We're not a good enough rebounding team for that. You don't defend well enough for that. And we got problems in other areas as well, for which we really can't afford the ones you're providing us. So that's where it begins and ends with me. As I assess what it is that I've been seeing over the last 5 games, Bron and Austin Reeves need to get their act together, man. Because while we can afford for D'Lo not to necessarily play that great, or Gabe Vincent, we've been able to withstand some of that. Now that the competition has gotten better, we need our best players to play better. And if they're going to be costing us possessions, we can't win games against good teams. And that's what it really comes down to. Utah ain't that good. So some of the stuff that we've been doing, we could probably get away with, still win. But I don't think that that's something we can count on going forward as we get on this road trip. As we continue on this road trip, rather. So, yeah, man, tomorrow Minnesota's going to give us a test. They've been a struggling basketball club. We're going to have to save some juice for them. I don't know how we're going to do that, but it would be great if we could blow out this Utah team. I'll tell you that. So we can rest some of our starters tonight before getting on this plane to Minnesota. But, this is a real thing, man. The Lakers have got to stop turning the damn ball over. And I thought I'd never have to say that given the fact that we're one of the best turnover teams to start the season. But as of late, it's just been getting worse and worse. And like I said, if we're going to make up for it rebounding the ball, that'll help. Earlier in the season, I think it was against the Phoenix Suns, or when we were on that 3-game winning streak to start the season, it was a game where we shot poorly. And I think we were able to make up for it because we rebounded well and we didn't turn the ball over. I think that's how we were able to pull off one of them games. It might have been Sacramento game. I don't remember. But it was the distinctive idea that though we were screwing up in one area, we made up for it in another area. The Lakers need to get back to finding ways to do that. If you're going to have a bad shooting night, you got to board the ball, you got to take care of the basketball. You know, if you're going to turn the ball over, you got to be efficient hitting shots. You got to make your possession as quality as possible and rebound like crazy and do something on the defensive end. You know, these are things that, like, if you're going to have bleeding areas, you got to focus in an exaggerated way on the areas that need to be balanced out in order for that to work for you. And so that's what the Lakers did to start the season. I ain't been seeing a whole lot of that lately. We need to get back to that. And I know a lot of what's wrong with us is us shuffling players, trying to figure out what lineup work for us, dealing with injuries, players in and out of the lineup. But at the end of the day, guys got to figure this out, man. So I think this is an opportunity for us to do that against a Utah team that really is not very good. And I don't think they want to win. I don't think Utah wants to win. If they did, they would utilize all those rookies and those young players that they have and just throw them at teams every night and let them run past them. But they're not doing that. They're Juzanging people to death, and it's going to continue to cater to their tank mission. Ebanks, Juzang, Ebanks, Juzang. That's how they got to go about it. So, you know, I don't have a problem with it. I think Utah is well on their way to compete for Ace Bailey and Cooper Flagg, and if that's what they're going to do, that's what they're going to do. We can take the win. We need teams like this in the Western Conference more so. So I don't want any wet the bed situations tonight, but if there are going to be any, it's going to be because we probably got smashed on the boards like the Denver Nuggets did. And maybe the Utah Jazz got hot because they can shoot the three ball at a high clip. Not a great percentage, but they can launch them. They had a game where they shot 45 in these past 5 games. One of them games, they shot 45 threes. So I don't expect them to shoot a good percentage, but you know, they have extra motivation if Jordan Clarkson's out there. You never know, man. They got players that can go up to the ceiling rather high. So we need to be aware of that. And if they have a couple of them having really hot games, you could lose the basketball game if you don't show up. It's the NBA team just like everybody else, and they got plenty of talent. It just ain't coming together for victories right now. By design, I believe. So, your Lakers are going to be wearing their whites. Of course, it's a weekend, so we always wear our whites Sundays and Saturdays and sometimes on Fridays as well. And the Utah Jazz will be having their old school blues, man. I like the color. They got the Florida match, so it's going to be traditional Utah Jazz flavor there. I wouldn't mind them going back to that color that they used to have with Karl Malone and John Stockton, where they had like some very light pink and light brown and some type of pastel greenish color. It came together to make sense. White was in there. If for those of us who are old enough to remember the Utah Jazz, I would love for them to commemorate their home jerseys from that era. I just like that vibe. That same floor that they had when Chicago Bulls was winning championships on that floor. I want them to kind of revisit that color scheme just a little bit, just like they've been revisiting other color schemes that they have. Utah has shuffled through a lot of color schemes over the years, by the way. Probably more so than most. But anyway, that's not important. The important thing is that the Lakers come in and beat them regardless of what they got on. And at the end of the day, we are a better basketball team in need of a victory, man. So as long as we understand that they're a bigger team than they were last week, and they are more capable of rebounding and blocking shots tonight. Walker Kessler probably wants to be a Laker, so he's be wise to play his best game tonight. As long as we can withstand all of that and be efficient, more so in areas that we haven't been as of late, against a team that's probably not going to force the issue too much and probably will hand us the ball quite a bit, we should get the victory tonight. I don't have too many concerns about this one. It is considered a trap game, but Utah is pretty consistent about losing when they want to, and they definitely want to. So we just got to come and play good, you know. I don't even think it requires us to play very great tonight, in theory, unless somebody's hot. But, like, you should come in and you should be able to get victory against this team. Hopefully D'Lo's able to go. Hopefully Coach will be willing to play our bigger players to match up instead of that stupid stuff he was doing against OKC. And if we do that, I think we'll be fine, man. I'm looking for Rui to kind of have a bounce-back game. He's been really under the radar since starting the season very hot. This was a good game for him to kind of get in the mix and get some more looks tonight, kind of catch some people off guard, have a big Rui game. So that's what I want to see. And, of course, feed Dalton Knecht. Feed Dalton Knecht, man. We've been featuring him more. He had 20 points in the last game. I think he hit like 6 threes in the last one. It's always a good idea to feature him, especially against a team he's already smoked. So that is what I have to say, man. 5 o'clock is the game. Of course, I have something for you at halftime and at the end of the game, depending on how quickly everything manifests on my end with my family, we're always done before 6 o'clock. I'm sure halftime won't come before 6. So that's really what I have to say, man. I appreciate everybody for rocking with BDF 44. I'm out.